Clash of Clans isn't in a great place right now. Let's talk about why. So in this video, there are a couple of things that I want to kind of talk about as far as the current state of the game, and those things are going to be the current balance of the game and the current situation with ores and the equipment in the game for heroes. So in addition to that, we will also have some clips from a podcast that actually happened earlier today with the new community manager of Clash of Clans, Ferri, going over some of these topics as well. So I will insert some clips from that podcast as well and talk about that. So the first topic I want to touch on here is going to be the balance of the game. So currently, Town Hall 16 at the top level of the game is the easiest Clash of Clans has ever been at the top level of the game. Currently, basically, you can just spam your way through 3 stars. If you look at the 5v5 scene, then you see wars are no longer coming down to which team can get more triples. It's most often coming down to who can do the fastest 3-star. And any team that actually messes up and fails an attack and doesn't get a 3-star, that basically is the end of the war right there in that attack, because the other team is most likely going to be able to pass them up on stars and or percentage. So it's kind of a big mess right now in the competitive scene, and I know people don't want the Clash team to cater the game to the Clash or to the pros of the game. But even if you look at the casual side of things, hit rates are way, way higher than they ever have been. In fact, even in my not competitive clan here in Crimson Fog, we've had Town Hall 15s in this last CWL consistently 3-starring Town Hall 16s, and that in itself is just a clear indicator that things are not balanced right now. And it's more than just the Root Riders, but the Root Riders are certainly a big problem in the game, and it's almost laughable that they got a 600 HP knock on the last update and called that balance. That's not enough, and we're clearly seeing that it wasn't enough. So you see the screenshot on the screen here. This is a tweet that we got not too long ago from Ferri, the new community manager, and he's talking about the current meta, especially Root Riders. He did say that the solution is not simply nerf it, and I agree to an extent. However, I do still think that there need to be like actual good balance changes. It's been a long time since we've had like just a balance change update. That used to be something that happened in between big updates, and we just really don't see it anymore. And I think that is part of the problem that we're seeing at the moment. Now, the other issues are obviously the hero equipment is incredibly strong, and I don't know if we'll ever see balances on that. The other thing is we do still have defenses that could get new levels at Town Hall 16, which I also think is kind of interesting that there are so many defenses we have yet to see get the new levels like we've expected. We know there's going to be another big update for Town Hall 16 to basically give us the rest of the defenses, and hopefully that helps push things back to where they're supposed to be, but only time will tell on that one. Now, as for the other part of the solution there, he does say that the solution's not just to nerf things, and I agree. There's also a big gap in between casual players' skill and competitive player skill. The gap in the skill there is absolutely massive, and the solution to that is most likely to implement some sort of pro mode. So if you do friendly challenge or friendly war, you could do a pro mode that changes the balancing for the higher skilled players, and I think that is hopefully what they're going to implement. It's something that he does brush up on in this clip that we're about to listen to. But this is something I've been asking for basically since 5v5 became a thing, and the skill gap between players became immediately obvious. And it's actually something that Darian had talked about before, I don't know, I think maybe last year, and he actually said it was something that Supercell does not want to do because they didn't want to separate casual and pros by having this special thing for pro players. But honestly, it's what the game needs, and it's the only way we're ever going to have a balance for both casual and competitive at the same time. So with that, let's hear what Ferri had to say earlier today on this topic.
And so there's been recently some talks about esports and the balance. Can you tell us a bit more about the priorities and where the priorities lie between creating a competitive environment for pros versus a fun experience for the casual players, or at least how the team is approaching that issue?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up. When I tweeted that last week, and I'm sorry, I can't say X or whatever they say now, but the idea was to be, again, start to be more transparent with players and let them know where we're at, and that we do recognize and understand that it's a pain point right now. So that's why I also mentioned like nerfing or buffing, whatever it is not the solution, because we need to look at this at the entire player base. We can't make a change that would just like satisfy a small portion of the player base and they'll be happy, but then we're gonna deteriorate the experience for the rest of the player base. So we need to think about a different alternative that is not just like nerf or buff. We need something that's long-term, that's sustainable, and at best, at least try our best to make both sides happy. So one of the things that is being asked, and it is something that we are looking at right now, is the pro mode alternative. That's something that seems to be could be a good alternative for the more competitive players. So also something that came up is kind of like a ban system. So a lot of games have that already. Before a match, you can pick, let's say, troops to ban or things like that. So there's also a ban system that can be implemented as an option. So again, there are a lot of different routes we could take on this. That's why we're talking about this right now. We're gonna run some tests internally, see which one is the best one.
So yeah, he kind of goes over all that again, and again he does touch on the buffs and nerfs not really being the solution to the problem, but even with that, I kind of agree. It still needs to be a thing. There still need to be balances made in the game to kind of help, keep things in check. And it's really interesting to see the lack of balances as of late. But I'm looking forward to see what their solutions are. He said they've got some short-term and some long-term ideas, and hopefully they can kind of get this game back to where it needs to be, back on track, to where we're not seeing 15-15 ties in competitive matches, and we're not seeing casual clans restarring Town Hall 16 bases with their Town Hall 15 accounts, because that is actually crazy. So now the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the ores in Clash of Clans and the hero equipment. There's a massive shortage of ores, and it just feels like you're never going to be able to catch up, because not only are the ores hard to get, the equipment's expensive to upgrade, but they're also consistently giving us new equipment. We've gotten quite a lot of new equipment since the blacksmith was introduced in the game, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down, to be honest. So something they've talked about in this podcast, we'll listen to a few more clips. They're going to be doing more events. They're going to be basically doing monthly events, and we're going to be seeing equipment for all these events for the foreseeable future. We'll hear them talk about that here in a little bit, but the problem I have, and I made a video on this same topic not too long ago, and there need to be more ways for players to be able to get ores and to actually keep up. And a few different reasons for that is, for one, if you got heroes upgrading, it makes it tremendously more difficult to actually get ores, whether it's from your star bonus or from participating in war, which most clans don't want players playing in clan war if you got one of your biggest pieces of your offense unavailable. So that makes things tremendously difficult. I'd love to see some ores in like Gold Pass, maybe in clan games. There's so many other ways they could give us rewards, and hopefully that they do add some things like that. They are talking about doing that, so we'll go ahead and listen to some of these clips here as well.
Sweet. Speaking of progression, actually, I saw that on a Clash of Clans Twitter post. There's this new Super Troop event that just dropped. Can we read into that and assume that there'll be similar events in the future with Super Troops? Or is this more testing the waters or stuff like that?
Yes. You can expect more of these events in the future. So, as you mentioned, that's why it was called Super Troop event, right, in the calendar. There's no Super Drag mention in there. That's because the idea is to run these events again. Of course, it won't be exactly the same thing. We might make some changes. Changes in terms of gameplay, in terms of in progression or rewards. But the idea of using Super Troops as the event, yes, that's gonna happen again.
The events have been pretty spread out every other month since they started, and this is the first time we're getting back-to-back months of events. Is this kind of the new norm, doing one every month?
Kind of, yeah. Again, the events are something new, right, for the game. It's something that started last year with Clash Royale, so it's something new. So we're still trying to figure out exactly what's the future for events, and that requires testing. So that's why we're running events now every other month, every month. So we can actually test as much as we can, different type of events and everything. And the idea is right now, as you can see, like we have a month that we're gonna have this bigger event with like the skins and everything. like we had with the Dragon Festival, and the other event's going to be like a small scale event like the Super Troop, and then the next month you can expect another big event again, and so on. We're probably going to keep like doing that.
Can we expect to have a new epic equipment each one of these events? Because the last 3 we've gotten a new epic equipment.
For now, yes. I don't have the full roadmap for epic equipments, so I can't say for sure that that's going to happen, let's say, each month of the year until the end of the year. But I can say for the next few events, there will be epic equipments, yes, for sure.
All right, so a few clips there about the events and the epic equipment. Also, the Reddit Talks Clash podcast is on Spotify if you guys want to go check out the entire thing. But let's talk about some of these things that he touched on here. He did mention that there are going to be more Super Troop events, which is going to be just a new type of event that they work into the cycle, and that they are going to be doing these events monthly. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's actually good to have new content on a regular basis for players to enjoy, and a lot of these events have been really fun, so I am looking forward to more events more consistently. I think that's cool. I know some people are upset about the fact that these events also come with a paid ticket to get more ores, but I mean, the ticket's optional. No one's forcing you to buy it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. I know it's tempting and it's there, but I don't think having paid tickets is a bad thing, and again, that's part of them trying to spread out their sources of revenue so that they could potentially look into not relying on magic items so often in the future. Now, they also talk a little bit about epic equipment. He did say that epic equipments are going to be for sure for the next few months, but he didn't say that it's going to be for the entire rest of the year. So hopefully they do slow down on releasing new equipment into the game, because right now we are getting a lot of them, and it seems like it's kind of overwhelming, to be honest, especially again with the lack of ores available, and you got all these new things to upgrade. And I know you get ores from the events, but you also get a new equipment to spend all these ores on with the event, so it doesn't really feel like you're coming out with a lot more ores at the end of it. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over in this video. Clash of Clans currently not in the greatest spot. The balance is bad, and the situation with the ores is not great. But obviously, Supercell is aware of these things, and more importantly, Supercell is communicating with us about these things as they actively look at solutions they want to take to rectify things going forward. So I am very optimistic that things are going to improve, things are going to get better for Clash of Clans going forward, and I'm looking forward very much to seeing some of these solutions finally come into the game. So let me know what you guys think of the current state of the game down in the comments below, and what changes you're looking forward to. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm looking forward to is maybe a little bit more balancing for the offense in the game right now, and more importantly, that pro mode. I think that would be absolutely huge for the game. That would be so good for the 5v5 scene. I'm not a fan of the concept of just having banned troops to try to balance for the competitive players, because it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. That's not really going to be interesting, because it's just going to be banned root riders every match, and it would be neat to see players still be able to use a couple of root riders in some like strategic or creative attack, but just not necessarily have every attack be spam root riders, if that makes sense. So I'm not really a big fan of just banning things to try to find balance. Hopefully they do like just a regular, like just different balance changes for each side of things. So a pro mode where offense is a lot less strong and defenses are buffed up, some stuff like that, but we'll see what they end up coming up with as a solution. That is going to be a wrap for this video. If you guys want to see some awesome creative Town Hall 16 attacks, I recommend checking out this video right here.